So we are live once again. Thanks to everybody who has joined me in for your Impact Wrestling review from July 15, 2018. So the show open up with a recap of everything that happened last week, and the main angle being the civil war inside the Latin American exchange LAX. Next, after that, we got the re-debut of OGz, formerly known as LAX, Hernandez and Homicide with Eddie Kingston. And obviously, it was a squash match. Obviously, they are reintroducing that tag team. And after that match, Eddie Kingston took the mic and challenged LAX with Conan for a 51-50 street fight. So obviously I like this segment a lot, especially Eddie Kingston is like a fine wine on the microphone, obviously doing his thing. And it is gonna be a fun match. LAX versus OGz. Obviously, Homicide and Hernandez are really good when it comes down to tornado style tag team matches. So next we got the debut of Blackheart. I don't know how to even mention that name, so I'm not gonna bother. She's from Rice, so they were basically doing a debut with her and probably see how she do with a former knockout champion, and therefore they might use her. By the way, one thing that I need to point out, if and this is gonna be something that not everybody's gonna get, but if Impact Wrestling is thinking about hitting the hot topic market, which that is a market that buys a lot of stuff, this is one of the people that you might need on your roster. That type of person with that type of look is gonna get over with that audience. So after that, we got like a little bit of a bragging rights from Impact Wrestling, saying that D'Angelo Williams was gonna be back with them and show up at Impact Wrestling, and they even say it on TMC. So good for them, finally getting some mainstream attention. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the last time they got TMC attention was when Sami Callihan hit Eddie Edwards with a baseball bat. Next, speaking of Sami Callihan, we got Sami Callihan and OBE cutting a promo, obviously hyping up the match that ended up being the main event. OBE and Sami Callihan versus the Lucha Brothers and Rich Swann. Next, we got Blackheart doing her debut versus the former knockout champion Allie. As for the match was so and so. It was not bad at all. Blackheart, she was kind of nervous, and you know when a person is nervous on TV, but I don't blame her. Hell, I'm nervous right now, and I'm just on YouTube. So that is part of what it is to be a performer. I've been playing guitar for more than 10 years, and I still get nervous when I'm playing live. So it is what it is, right? And the ending. Let's talk about this ending. This ending was good. Allie did a code breaker on Blackheart, and that was the way she won. Instead of either George Matthews and Don Callis calling the move a long breaker or something along those lines, by another name, they decided to call it a core breaker. And then after that, they did a little bit of a reference to Chris Jericho, saying that they might get sued by using that move and stuff like that, like tongue and cheek uh reference to him. So that was something that I find extremely interesting. They are feeding the fire that is that, Chris Jericho is buddies with Cyrus, and he might do something with Impact Wrestling on Impact Wrestling TV. But that's besides the point. As for the match was good. The ending was good. That reference was good. After the match, Allie was attacked by none other than the Golden Girl herself, Tessa Blanchard, who, by the way, signed like a long-term deal, and everybody was, cheering in the streets and stuff. So good for her. And I haven't talked about that. I was truly 110% expecting her to join Chip to the Mae Young Classic, but she decided to stay with Impact Wrestling. So that actually caught me off guard. Tessa, she beat up Ali, and after that, she posed for everybody in the crowd, and that was it. By the way, these two female talent are gonna be wrestling each other at Slammiversary. So that that seems like, yeah, they're gonna be now actually pushing Tessa Blanchard, not just beating around the bush with her now that she is locked into a contract. Hell, they're putting her versus a former champion on pay-per-view. Next, we got Eli Drake meeting backstage with Grado, Katarina, and Joe Hendricks. So obviously, Grado was bragging about her girlfriend, Katarina, and obviously, Eli Drake was putting his eyes on her, and they created a little bit of attention for a match that ended up happening later during this show. Next, we got a recap of the feud between Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer, with Tommy Dreamer doing a promo all bleed up on Eddie Edwards. So, by the way, I'm gonna ask you to either the people in the chat room or those who see this show later during the week, have you lose faith in this feud, or do you are still invested in this feud? Because I'm not feeling it as the moment. Maybe they will do something that give me more energy towards that feud, but I'm not feeling it right now. Next, we got Austin Aries cutting a promo, basically, bragging. And it's good seeing once again the champion on TV. So good for them that they decided to do basically a promo for his match versus Moose at Slammiversary. Next, we got D'Angelo Williams with this guy Josh Matthews. So I have heard people saying that Josh Matthews is like rice everywhere at all times, and I'm starting to feeling that about the guy. Everywhere you go, there's Josh Matthews there. It's like the army son. Everywhere you go, there's a drill sergeant there. They're doing the same thing with Josh Matthews. They did like a very run of the mill promo with D'Angelo Williams, saying that he is the one, obviously, training and coaching Moose for his match versus Austin Aries at Slammiversary. So they ended up showing some of the clips of Moose training. My cynical part of me was saying, "Hey, why is a wrestler training for a football match? What is the the appealing towards doing that?" But I get it. I think there is an element of being actually a legit performer, being doing sports that adds a dimension, something that obviously wrestling has took advantage with that for millennia, right? You're not gonna put, you know, a spotlight on a wrestler that just look like a wrestler. So I get it. Obviously, Austin Aries, got triggered by hearing D'Angelo Dinero, putting over Moose and attacking him and stuff. So he decided to show it up, and he attacked D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo then picked up a steel chair, but Austin Aries did a low blow, and then he got the better of D'Angelo Williams. Next, we got a very good segment, right? We got KM and Falaba once again together. The band is together, right? And they're trying to make peace so they could, once again be, a dominating tag team in the tag team division of Impact Wrestling, brother. So obviously they got together, and then Gamma Singh show up with the Desi his squad. Oh, that's a mouthful. So they decided to, poke fun at him, saying that, Falaba, you can't stop eating, and KM, you can't stop talking, and blah blah blah. So I actually I'm interested with I'm seeing this because those type of undercard matches, those type of matches are at the end of the day things that make the wrestling company, and you need a big mid and low card in order to build have a pyramid. That would be the way that I would explain it better. You need to have a big foundation, and even doing something comedy wise with those guys, that would be interesting, and they could kill a couple of weeks and have matches with meanings and stuff along those lines. By the way, I was thinking just the other day, and I don't know if you're gonna buy my idea, but I think if El Patron was still around and not getting in trouble every single week, it would have been a very memorable segment if they would have done even a single show with El Patron with the CCC versus Falaba with the no. They could have done like a tongue-in-cheek type of a joke with that, and that would have been a lot of fun for the Impact Wrestling TV audience. But that is besides the point. Thanks to Alberto and the way he like to do things outside of the ring. Next, we got Eli Drake once again on Impact Wrestling TV. So, all of you that were praying to all the gods, the wrestling gods, you got your wishes. Eli Drake to stay around. So, hallelujah about that. So, he was wrestling Grado with Katarina and Joe Hendricks, right? And it was a very short match. It's like Drake won very easy with his gravy train, and that was it. After that, there was a little bit of a confrontation between Eli Drake and Joe Hendricks, which that sent me to the question that is for those of you who have seen already, Joe Hendricks wrestle. Do you see him in the same level as former Impact World Champion Eli Drake? Or I think they're just testing the waters because that came out of nowhere. I was not expecting like this dude who haven't even wrestled a match to be, thinking that he was gonna beat up a former champion Eli Drake and trying to be, the man up and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how well does he perform against, a former champion. But and between 3 and 2, I don't know where to go. So sell me Joe Hendricks if you're a huge fan, but I not seen why would you put like Eli Drake with this guy on his first feud, unless you're gonna use Eli Drake as his stepping stone, who I might not think it is a good idea, and you don't want also to introduce Joe Hendricks to take a L to Eli Drake. But I think I have been over analyzing this matchup between these two people. Next we got Killer Cross doing another promo, the creepy, blade type of promo. So I guess they're putting him versus Petey. I think that's next week if I'm not mistaken. I might have gotten the details wrong on this one, but as for the promo, he's good. Put him more on TV. Let's see him wrestle next week and see how well does he do long term. Next we got Matt Sydal once again and Alicia Achao once again on the Impact Wrestling TV screen. Got already 2 segments with her. Obviously, Matt Sydal was asked about his matchup versus the Machine Brian Cage at a Slammiversary. And he said that even though Brian Cage might be full of muscles everywhere at all times, he have the advantage because he have the spiritual advantage by having his third eye open, and that is a whole nother game. So even though there might be a little bit of a disconnect between the way that they look, Matt Sydal have the advantage because of that. So good promo by him. He looked a lot more confident, and being part of the gimmick that he's doing. Like he's like a hippie type of yoga type of dude. Next, we got a very interesting segment, something that I was not expecting them. They decided to go something a little bit more old school. They decided instead of doing either a pre-recorded promo or doing like a Skype call or anything like that, they went all the way back with a phone call, and I found this kind of interesting. Something that you will see basically on radio or internet radio or a podcast or something along those lines, something that you don't see that often on professional wrestling or either professional television. But this gave a whole different flavor. Why? Because the quality of a phone, it is inferior to, let's say, a professional recording device, but that does make you look when you're angry, even more angry. So this little detail did work for me, and that's something that caught me off guard. What are your thoughts on this? On instead of doing it the cookie cutter way, or the internet savvy way by having a Skype call or anything like that? What are your thoughts on Impact Wrestling doing a phone call with Moose this time around and airing that on television? Next we got once again Alicia Tao three times. Holy shit! That is the Alicia mania is running wild, brother. Oh boy! So she is once again interviewing you know kindergarten teacher. This guy Kyle. Oh, he's so terrible. So every time I see my son Rain, I have to say the same stuff. This Kyle dude, that is the guy from Impact Head. So go ahead and blame him. Why I am calling my son Rain a kindergarten school teacher. So obviously they're doing a promo in some sort of studio, Impact Wrestling studio. But then, Madison Rain got like I guess, a sense, and she kind of felt that Sujon was around, and she saw the end of the tail of the bright clothes. I don't know the name of that. So she went ahead and walked into the studio, but she ended up being trapped, and then did a later shot with this angle. So marinate on that for a second. And next we got the main event of the evening. Ohio versus Everything, and Sami Callihan versus Pentagon Jr., Rich Swann, and Rey Fenix. Oh boy, I heard last week that the Rich Swann versus Rey Fenix was the best match of the statement. But I think my mind is a little bit different. I think this might have been the best one, especially for TV. So change my mind on that. So before the match, they're starting to do the little, man-to-man face-off between Pentagon Jr. and Sami Callihan, doing the thumbs up, thumbs down versus Zero Miedo. So this was obviously something that gets the crowd hot for the match. You knew that they're gonna bring every single flip out there and probably do a double of that on the later part of the match. So you know what you're getting into with those matches. So they did all sorts of flips. What got me off guard was them doing a Tower of Doom spot. It happened years, very long time, ever since Impact Wrestling did a Tower of Doom spot on Impact Wrestling TV. If I'm not mistaken, it had been more like 5 or 6 years, if I'm not even mistaken. So it was cool seeing that old school move, old school, new school move once again on Impact TV. Also, they did a very good job by spacing things out and just giving a spot on the two most important guys of the match, Pentagon Jr. and Sami Callihan, so they could, beat up at each other, do a little bit of a teaser of their match that is gonna be happening at Slammiversary. And to those guys that have not been sold yet on their match or on their feud, give them a little bit of fire so they could, get burning and, buy the pay-per-view. So Good job with this little detail. Obviously, most likely the best spot of the match. Rich Swann was about to do some sort of plancha on Sami Callihan, but J. Chris caught him mid-air with a ace cutter. Good spot, especially, it's not the cleanest spot ever, but it was very, very good. And they took advantage of having a slow motion camera, so they decided to show this move on slow motion. So another solid detail of this match. Then, they did it once again. Pentagon Jr. went hard on Jay Chris and hit him with a package pile driver on the apron, and then they decided to open up a notch and show the match on slow motion. Good decision to the person who did the video editing of this match. Good job on this thing. Then we saw the ending. We saw Sami Callihan hitting a double underhook, like knee driver. I don't know. I'm not the highest wrestling expert when it comes down to those new school move. So it will be something like that. He did that finisher, and that was it. Sami Callihan and OBE won over Pentagon Jr., Ray Phoenix, and Rich Swann. So good for them. Giving them the upper hand when it comes down to their feud. Obviously, before the pay-per-view and the match between Cabellera versus Mascara, hair versus Mask. Next, we got the ending of the show. So that might be a little bit more controversial. So those like me who might not be fans or of Madison Rain, we're not pleased with having this ending. By the way, when I did talk about the ratings of Impact Wrestling, something that I have a little bit of a video, I'm gonna be put it like in the description box below. So we talked some of the people who draw ratings and stuff like that, and the highest one being Rosemary, and the lowest one being Johnny Impact. But however, there's Madison Rain on the show, the ratings goes a little bit down. So as for now, we can talk about that later on. I'm not gonna go hard on this segment. So we got Madison Rain. She ended up opening up the door, and there was like a tree and a forest outside. There was a studio previously, but now there is a woods and stuff like that. It's the Amazon jungle or something on those lines. So she, instead of backing down, she decided to go full speed ahead and walk into the woods at night. Therefore, there were the brides. They show up and they surrounded her. But then those brides disappear. And then after that, Su Young show at the back of Madison Rain. And that was the ending of this show. That ending, not sold on this. I like wacky stuff. I'm not gonna lie. And those who have been, watching my videos for a very long time know that I am a sucker for some of the wacky stuff as long as it's creative. But I think they might have, expecting, Madison Rain to be too over. So I didn't feel that much for this. I was like, well, it is what it is, right? I'm not gonna be complaining on the internet or anything like that. But it is what it is, right? By the way, speaking about ratings for a hot second, right? We talk about ratings on one of the previously videos. So I'm gonna be saying, if my maths goes right, the rating of this show would be around 337 to 302K. That would be the two extremes of this show. So let's see how mechanical their audience is. So that is a theory that I want to do some basically observations and stuff along those lines. So before I go out, let me change the little bit of a screen, right? And do a little bit of a shameless self promotion before I go with a little bit of the chat room. So I'm gonna be doing a 300 subscriber to three Q&A that is gonna be recorded this Sunday. So if you want to be part of the Q&A, go ahead and hit me on Twitter at Wrestling Rover, or put a comment on this video with your question, and please use the hashtag AskRobert3, so I know that you want your question to be part of that video. So let me take a little bit of a look at the chat room, and we're on our way out. So we got Trent Hatchet. So hi Trent. I think, is this your first time around here? Let me know, because I'm not familiar with that name. So he writes, Impact Wrestling needs a TV title and a US champion. I get your idea, your basic idea. Let me put it like this way, right? This might sound controversial if you're not, thinking about it for a second, but I think wrestling, when it comes down to a good and healthy wrestling promotion on TV, you need to have a solid middle class, just like economics, right? You know that if you want a country to get richer, you need to have a solid middle class, right? That same principle should be applied to wrestling. Let me give you my best two examples. When was wrestling hot on US? It was during the late 90s. How many mid-card titles did WWF had at that time? 3. How many mid-card titles WCW had at that time? 2 and then 3. They have a TV title, they got a US champion, and they have their hardcore champion. WWF did it with the Intercontinental, the European title, and the hardcore title. So if you want to have a healthy wrestling promotion, you need to invest on your mid-carders. Those are the future of your country. Those are the future of your promotion. However, Impact Wrestling is still at the rebuilding phase. At this moment in time, they don't have that much of a roster, and you don't want to, everybody that shows up at TV have like a belt or something. So as for the time being, I think it is not a good idea. I would rather have the Knockouts tag team belts back, instead of a US champion, a grand title, or a Legends title, or TV title, whatever. So I would rather give another match for another title for the female talent, instead of doing a mid card for the time being. Maybe at the end of this year they could add a mid card title. And by the way, since we're speaking about mid carders and mid card titles, who will you put the Midgar belt on? I got someone. I've already someone on my mind, and his name is Kevin Matthews. I think he would be, one of those guys that would highly benefit of being a mid card champion on Impact Wrestling. So I guess to all of the people who joined me on the fun, thank you so much, and to how much people? Like 12 people that show up to this live stream. Thank you to everybody. By the way, please join me on the Q&A this Sunday. So that is it for me. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you this Sunday for the Q&A. So bye, and thanks for watching and listening too.